Hey there everybody, Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of Classic Album Rewind, the show we're doing here on the channel throughout the month of June here in 2021, taking a look at those classic albums from some classic bands, yet these albums are slightly overshadowed by the uber classic album that came right before it, right? So kind of overshadowed by their little more famous older sibling. Today we're going to take a look, as I mentioned yesterday, we're going to go into the catalog of Led Zeppelin. We're going to take a look at an album that is pretty damn special, though it comes after a true behemoth, right? So of course we're talking about, this is the album, the older sibling in this instance, Led Zeppelin's unnamed fourth album, which of course spawned all sorts of mega legendary songs, sold 23 million plus copies here in the US alone, one of the biggest selling hard rock albums in rock and roll history. But the album we're talking about today, which is also a classic album in their discography, but maybe it doesn't get enough credit because of that one or some of the other ones that came before it. We're talking about Houses of the Holy, right? Released March 1973, March 28th to be specific. All right, recorded at Rolling Stones Mobile, Stargroves, and Headley Grange, Island, and Olympic Studios. So they moved all over the place to record this particular album. Atlantic Records, produced by none other than Mr. Jimmy Page. So this is the album, I think, where the band really started to experiment with some different kind of, different styles of music, different feels, right? You have a little bit of everything on this album. This kind of starts the period in Led Zeppelin's catalog where they kind of gave you great examples of what they were all about. Whereas, the early albums are mostly kind of like, blues and hard rock albums. Then you got the third album with which mixes, come on, Pete, you can speak, it's not that early, which mix kind of that heavy rock style of theirs with a little bit of blues and the folk edge, right? Okay, and then of course the fourth album, you saw the folk come back once again along with the thunderous heavy rock, right? And maybe a little bit of the bluesy stuff. Well, here you've got that and more, right? You got a little bit of reggae here. You got a little bit of kind of like these funky, breezy grooves mixed in with all the other stuff. Kicks off with The Song Remains the Same. Terrific track. One of Led Zeppelin's legendary songs. So many amazing guitar textures from Mr. Jimmy Page in that song, right? It's got that cool heavy riff. You got all these really nice melodic lead lines. You got Bonzo's thunderous drumming, a great vocal from Robert Plant. But more importantly, the song remains the same. It has great pacing, and it takes you through a lot of twists and turns. And in my opinion, one of their most successful songs on any album, and I think one of the underrated gems in their catalog. Next up, you got the lush, epic The Rain song. I mean, it's, one of those classic tracks from any band where the title of the song totally puts you in the mood for what it's all trying to convey. When you listen to the Rain song, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I think of sitting on your porch. It's raining outside. It's cloudy. It's hazy, and you're just kind of sitting there, maybe with your coffee drinkers or your hot tea or hot cocoa, and you're just kind of sitting there. Maybe you got your dog or your cat or your loved one nearby, and no need to talk, just kind of sitting there and taking in the tranquility of the weather, of the elements. And the Rain song just kind of takes you away. It's this kind of like dreamy song, and I say dreary in a good way because that's just kind of how it's just so melodic, so lush, so meditative. Those lilting guitar chords, right? The John Paul Jones's keyboards. I mean, and the just anguished vocals from Robert Plant. It's just such a lovely mood piece, one of the greatest of all time. And again, you listen to it, and you look at the title, they totally fit. I mean, it seems like a song you would listen to on a rainy day. So after that, you've got the upbeat, Over the Hills and Far Away. All right. Everybody loves that opening little guitar line, right? It's so cool. It's catchy. It's kind of folky. Then the hard rock comes in. Man, the chorus is so catchy. Great song. Then, of course, you got the grunge, right? I mean, how just kind of weird is that song, right? Kind of funky, upbeat, right? Bringing these new elements into the Led Zeppelin canon. Really interesting, different song. Some people don't like it much. I think it's a cool track. Adds to the diversity of this album. Over on side 2 of the LP, right? Second half of the CD, you've got Dancing Days, right? Again, those kind of weird tuned chords and things from Jimmy Page. Very cool song, very memorable, great chorus, good overall rockin' track, but very accessible. Then, of course, you've got Jamaica, okay? All these, everybody always corrects me on how you say it. Jamaica, did you make her? However, Jamaica. I guess that's how it's supposed to be said. There, all of a sudden, you have Led Zeppelin doing reggae, right? It's like, what? Kind of works. Silly song. It's my least favorite song on the album, but it still has lots of appeal to it, I think. All right, it's just kind of a fun song. It's kind of cool to hear Zeppelin in that kind of lighthearted mode, right? It's like, let's bring a little levity to the situation. Let's do something completely different. And it shows you that they can kind of cover all these different styles. And then you've got the back end of the album, which I think is absolutely terrific. You've got the menacing, ominous No Quarter. What a terrific song. To me, No Quarter is kind of like, almost like the long-lost sibling to the Doors' Riders on the Storm, right? You've got the acoustic, the electric piano, right? The amazing guitar solo from Jimmy Page. It's just this kind of like, and those great vocals, right? The anguished vocals, far-reaching vocals, the cool guitar riff, Bonham's drumming. Great song. I like it even better live, like on the Song Remains the Same live album. Absolute killer. Great classic song. And John Paul Jones, man, his tremendous instrumental abilities are so on fire in this song. Fantastic. And then, I don't know about anybody else, but I think The Ocean is great. Big, bruising, heavy rock song. Yeah, it's not the most intelligent song they ever wrote or the most complex song they ever wrote, but I think it's a great way to end this album on a high note. Big, heavy metal riffing, right? Just a great hard rock track for all of you who like the heavier end of the Led Zeppelin canon. So there you have it. Houses of the Holy with that really interesting album cover art. Again, I just think that this album takes you on a journey through all the different facets of what Led Zeppelin do so well. And I think that, Physical Graffiti, their next studio album, kind of took this to another level and gave you even more stuff, right? Because there's not a lot of bluesy stuff on this album for the most part. This is more, you got your hard rock, you got your little folky things, you got your atmospheric pieces, and you got the little dip into the kind of the funky thing and the reggae thing, right? So again, a lot of different flavors on this album. A lot of classic tracks. I think it's an absolute classic in their catalog that, maybe back when I was growing up and first starting to listen to Zeppelin, I didn't appreciate this album as much as I do now. There's a couple albums in their catalog that fall into that. I think the third album and this album have enough kind of like different elements going on that maybe back in the day kind of made them stand out a little bit as kind of like the weird albums in their catalog. But I think now, all these years later, I think personally, I appreciate them all the more for them. And I rank the third album and the fourth album pretty high. The fifth album, pretty high in their catalog. So there you have it. Classic album rewind for today. Led Zeppelin, Houses of the Holy. If you haven't listened to this in a while, please rewind your life and go check it out. Once again, if you've never listened to this, I'd be hard pressed to find anybody out there who hasn't. Check it out, because there's, I think, a little bit of something for everybody in here. So stay tuned for another episode of Classic Album Rewind coming up tomorrow and each and every day throughout the month of June. Visit us on the web at www.seaoftranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, of course, we're here on YouTube all the damn time. Coming up tonight, we've got The Monsters Den, right, with Rich Catino, Chris Sallow, and myself. We're going to take a look at part 3 at some cool animals attack films, right? There's plenty of those in the horror genre. Then, of course, we've got Martin Popoff and I coming back tomorrow for part 2 of our look at band logos, although this time we're going to look at some logos that we don't think work too well. Last week was the ones we love. Here are some of our least favorites. So you got kind of part two of that whole thing. And then over the weekend on Sunday, we've got ranking the studio albums of Merciful Fate, Rich Catino, Bryce from Bryce Talks Metal, and myself will be tackling that on Sunday. And then, of course, the week starts all over again with the Hudson Valley Squares on Monday, In the Prague Seat on Tuesday. Wednesday is What's Hot with Sea of Tranquility Day, new product reviews, and then Thursday, Monsters Den, Friday with Martin, and we start the whole process all over again. So we'll see you all real soon. If you haven't already subscribed, please make sure you do. If you want to make a channel donation, there's a link to our Ko-Fi page below, as well as a link to our merch page where you can get cool shirts like this and all sorts of other different Sea of Tranquility designs. We've got Monsters Den shirts. We've got Hudson Valley Square shirts. We even have shirts for my other channel, Comic Book Geezers. If you haven't checked that out, please do, and go over there and subscribe. Give us some love. And till then, visit us on the web at www.seaoftranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Of course, we're here on YouTube all the damn time. See you guys tomorrow morning with more stuff, and tonight with the Monsters Den. Take care. Bye-bye.